Direct indexing gets a lot of praise online, especially in places like Reddit, where investors share screenshots of harvested tax losses and they talk about how smart this strategy feels. And to be fair, there are real benefits. Direct indexing isn't a total nonsense strategy, but here's the truth. Most of the benefits that you're going to receive, they are front loaded and most of the pain is backloaded. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand why for the vast majority of investors, direct indexing is not a smart strategy. So let's look at a scenario. You deposit $500,000 into a direct indexing platform. They buy hundreds of individual stocks in small weights that's supposed to mimic the S&P 500. And over the next few months into a year, many of these stocks begin to trade down, some by 5%, some by 10%, and some by only 1%. The algorithm will immediately sell the losers and replace them with similar stocks to avoid the wash sale rules. So if you owned Lowe's and it declined in value, it would sell that position and then buy Home Depot in its place. So let's now assume that you now have $50,000 in tax loss harvesting. You have a cost basis reset on all of those sold positions. So your goal of a big tax benefit has been achieved for year one, but here's the problem that nobody talks about. You didn't eliminate taxes, you just deferred them. You pushed them into the future. So here is why this is a problem. Every loss harvested today is going to reduce your basis, which creates a bigger gain in the future. And as with everything else in life, there is no free lunch and everything does have a price. A lower basis equals a bigger gain in the future. And eventually, the market will recover, stocks will go up, and the algorithm will stop harvesting any losses, and your new cost basis is now going to be extremely low. So now you're going to be left with a huge deferred tax liability across hundreds of tiny positions. And this means that the IRS is eventually going to collect its due, and often at a worse time. It could happen during retirement, during a required portfolio balance, during a move to simplify your holdings. And the marketing claims that you're saving on taxes. You're really not saving. All you're doing is borrowing any tax relief from tomorrow to today. So after you realize your tax benefit, here's what you're going to be left with. You're going to have 300 to 1,000 individual positions, hundreds of fractional shares, a diverging cost basis, tracking error from the market. Your performance is no longer going to track the S&P 500. It will differ, probably worse off. Your portfolio is no longer going to resemble that index that it was designed to mimic. And this is where direct indexing becomes a compliance and a tax nightmare. Eventually, whenever you want to simplify your portfolio, you're going to realize a few different things. You have a ton of stocks that you don't know what to do with. You can't sell any of these positions without realizing a huge gain. Maybe you can donate some stock to charity, but you can't donate everything to charity. You can't convert these positions to an ETF without tax paying, and so now you're left with very little choice. Your portfolio has converted into a tax landmine. And in my opinion, this is all by design. The firms that are selling direct indexing want you locked into their system forever. It's a self-imposed trap. Quick note here, if you find content like this helpful, hit like and subscribe. It really does help this channel grow so that more people can see content like this. Because direct indexing turns your portfolio into hundreds of individual stocks, you will start thinking like a stock picker, like it or not. You're going to start asking yourself, maybe I'll keep this winner. Maybe I should sell this loser. But harvesting didn't trigger. What is this stock here? Should I override the algorithm and sell it? You go from being an investor to becoming an accidental fund manager, managing something that you were never supposed to manage. This may surprise you, but the number one beneficiary of direct indexing is not the investor. It's going to be the provider. They benefit whether you do well or not. So what you should do instead, it's a pretty difficult question. I am a financial advisor, but I'm not your financial advisor. Everyone's situation is different. Your income, your holdings, your taxes, your goals. So there is no one size fits all answer. That being said, there are a few things that tend to work pretty well. First, expect it before it happens. It's very rare for someone to wake up one day with a giant tax bill. Usually it takes years to build up. So the smart move is to prepare for this tax bill very early, not to react to it later. Second, model the impact before you act. If you know what your tax gains are going to look like, you can plan ahead. Maybe spread out the sales across several tax years or offset them with losses or charitable donations that may be out there. Third, use the right legal structures. For some people, this is going to be things like donor advised funds, charitable remainder trusts, or simple gifting strategies can go a long way to minimizing these taxes. But all of this is only going to work if you plan early. Fourth, it's best to keep things simple and flexible. Complexity, as I found out over the years, is not sophistication. A clean ETF portfolio is going to be far more efficient and much easier to manage as you live your life and as your tax situations evolve. And finally, you should be integrating your tax planning with your overall financial plan. Your portfolio and your taxes and your retirement plan, they should all be working together. And you want to make sure that each piece of these is going to support each other, not necessarily conflict with each other. Direct indexing is one of those products that looks really brilliant in year one, which it might be, but it's going to be more neutral in year two. And then by year three and beyond, it's going to become a giant mess. Yes, it can save you taxes early on. Yes, you can harvest those losses in the down market, but you're not eliminating taxes. I think that's the key thing here. All you're doing is deferring them into the future. You're going to be trading simplicity for complexity, and you're building a portfolio that becomes almost impossible to unwind. So if you do want a cleaner approach, one that's going to be focused on long-term discipline, it's really best to plan ahead. And if you need help figuring all of this out, reach out to us at bullock.com. We are more than happy to help. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.